Good afternoon, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of And That's the Game. It is Friday, November 6th, 2020. And for those of you who know my shows, especially whether it's And That's the Game or Sports World Weekly, I'm usually very professional looking when I do my shows, but not today. Why? Because Alex Cora is back as the head manager of the Boston Red Sox. We're going to break into that with Titletown Throwdown host Nick LeBlanc, get you on a quick wraparound of everything going on in the world of sports. The NBA has said they will start the season December 22nd, which means there will be Christmas Day games in the NBA and a chance once again to see the ever so ugly Christmas Day jerseys that the NBA will put out for the 2020 season. We also now know that in week 10 of the college football season, week 1 of the Pac-12 season will not happen for 4 teams. California and Washington and the scheduled Arizona-Utah game have been canceled by the Pac-12 after outbreaks occurred at all 4 schools, which have prompted the football teams to have to shut down practices due to their facilities being shut down, which then has also caused some issues with inside of the teams themselves. Both Utah and Cal were sanctioned for not being able to field enough scholarship players to determine their teams being considered competitive. Therefore, those 2 games will be removed from this weekend's Pac-12 schedule, and they will not be rescheduled as there is only 6 weeks left in the college football season in its entirety. So the Pac-12 left no wiggle room whatsoever. Those games will be canceled. Arizona will not play until they may potentially play against USC on November 14th. There is no determination regarding Cal or Washington and the situations involved for their next games. And our big story of the day, Alex Cora is back as the manager of the Boston Red Sox after serving a 1-year suspension due to him being a bench coach in 2017 with the Houston Astros, who were caught up in the signal stealing scandal that promulgated AJ Hinch being removed as Astros manager and a number of other people being pushed off. And with that being said, I bring into the show Titletown Throwdown host Nick LeBlanc. Nick, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me again, Matt.
Well, as I said, you and I normally are very professional people in how we handle things and stuff. But after this today and the news being so much of what it was, I sent you a text message and I said, "Hey, do the show with me. B, wear your freaking Red Sox jersey." To me is like winning the World Series again.
It's funny. I was talking about this last night, and how I was talking about a John Heyman report. How I read that, ultimately it's come down to Bloom's decision. Me, frankly, it really didn't. I felt that Bloom was probably pressured by ownership to bring Alex Cora back for an interview, fly out to see Alex Cora in Puerto Rico, and then rehire him. It's kind of like their way of telling Bloom, saying, "Hey, give our guy a chance. He flops. You can get rid of him and bring in your own guy." So and most likely, I think Bloom's guy was Sam Fold from the Phillies front office standpoint, but I don't think that's the end of Fold. I think Fold might come in to be Cora's bench coach, or we can see a flip to the script and Ron Renneke comes back as bench coach, which is highly doubtful at this point. But at the same time, it's the Red Sox. I leave nothing out with them.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see Renneke coming back as bench coach because there was a lot of player animosity towards Renneke and the way in which he was treating the players. It's very interesting that there was some ties, of course, Chaim Bloom has ties to the Tampa Bay Rays. And of course, with the season that the Rays just had, there was question as to whether or not some of the, bench coaches in the Tampa Bay Rays might be finding their way up to Boston. That's still not out of the realm of possibility of whether
we see next off season it can happen because I read about it.
Right.
Bloom could not contact anyone with the Rays about coming up to Boston until after the 2021 season.
Right, and I think that's still not out of the realm of possibility because of his connection to Tampa Bay, having come from the Tampa Bay organization to Fenway. Uh, so there's certainly place where that can happen, but Alex Cora is one of the likable personalities of baseball. And if he has to go to building a new staff from the beginning, from scratch, so to say, I was saying, okay, I'm coming back, but anybody who is here is out. And Alex Cora builds a new staff. He has that personality and the capability and the connection to be able to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and for the Red Sox standpoint, you're going to get Chris Sale maybe by the All-Star break next year after he recovers from Tommy John surgery. You're going to have a healthy Eduardo Rodriguez. Hopefully, you have a healthy Nathan Eovaldi. But those are only really three starting pitchers. Still need to go out and find a couple more, really back of the rotation type guys, aka John Lester, redo that boo-boo from 6 years ago. And you really need to get bullpen pieces. I think Red Sox offensively will be fine. They'll be fine. They'll get by with what they got right now, but they need pitching, and a guy who needs to rebuild the bullpen and the starting rotation's confidence back up. I believe it's Alex Cora, and the clubhouse love Cora. They love him, so this is going to be a big boost for them around that clubhouse.
Yeah, Eduardo Rodriguez this morning, and of course we know Erod's been dealing with his own issues after contracting COVID and having some lung and heart issues. But Erod was basically like, hell yeah, on Twitter this morning. He was the first Red Sox player to post anything out and was just elated beyond belief. And that goes to show you the relationship that Alex Cora has with the players and why so many of the players were campaigning for this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Vasquez on a Spanish radio station, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago, right as the World Series was getting underway, Vasquez publicly said, I prefer Alex Cora to come back. And you could ask Rafael Devers the same, he'd say the same thing. Xander Bogaerts would say the same thing. JD Martinez, he would say the same thing. So when your whole clubhouse, especially your star players, are rallying around the guy who, yeah, he got caught cheating red-handed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But for the fact that did not faze them, and they still want him to come back, that says a lot for what they have to say for him as not only a manager, but as a person. And it's probably going to be those star players that are going to end up helping Cora rebuild his reputation in baseball.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the issue is Cora just got wrapped up on the wrong side of a bad situation that really was more Jeff Luhnow and AJ Hinch than it was Cora, because if you remember, sort of the Major League Baseball report that came out sort of said this is all Houston related. We don't really see too much that was wrong that occurred in the Red Sox organization, but we're just going to suspend anybody who was part of the Houston Astros organization in 2017 and the Houston Astros dugout. And hence Cora got the 1-year suspension along with AJ Hinch, who's now the manager of the Detroit Tigers.
It's just funny. I was reading a lot of people were giving the Tigers backlash for signing Hinch almost immediately. It's like, well, here's the thing. They had their manager, but he retired right in the last week of the season for his own health reasons. And AJ Hinch has proven that he can take a bad team and bring them to the promised land. He did it with Houston. AJ Hinch inherited a 100+ loss team in I believe, what was it, 2013, 2014, yep. Around there. He stuck with it. So from 2015, 4 years later, he brings you to your first World Series title and just brings you back to the World Series another 2 years later. So Hinch, if anyone can help turn the Detroit Tigers around and get these young players aligned, it's AJ Hinch. I have no problem with that at all. And the funny thing is, too, both the Tigers and White Sox, they were linked to Alex Cora. The Tigers signed Hinch, and the White Sox get the fossil fuel that he is, Tony La Russa, who hasn't managed in 9 years. So and you come down to the Red Sox, of all your guys that you had, yeah, all of them had coaching experience except for Fold, but they're all bench coaches. Cora's the only one that had legitimate managerial experience with
and
you.
a World Series championship.
Yeah, and so it makes sense. Again, ask me this maybe 6-7 months ago, I'd say no way in hell Alex Cora comes back. Everything, like, no way. But as the season progressed, about maybe two weeks in, or maybe 3 games in, I said, yeah, this team needs Alex Cora.
Yeah. There's a great article breaking down all of this written by Nick LeBlanc. You can catch that on sfbnri.com. Plenty of things coming up on the SFBNRI platforms tonight and all of this weekend. Don't forget, I'll be with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. for Sports World Weekly. And this is the last, and that's the game show that will be broadcast from the Mobile Field studio for all of the next week, because we're going to be in Rhode Island next week. I will be live in Rhode Island and that's the game each and every day next week. And then I will be live for Sports World Weekly. We will be on site. We're not telling you where. It's a secret for right now. We've got something totally awesome planned, but we're going to be live for Sports World Weekly next week. That's Saturday, November 14th at 10 a.m. It will be live on all of the SFBNRI platforms, and Nick LeBlanc and I will be able to sit at a table 6 feet away from each other and not on a computer screen 5 hours away from each other.
It'd be good. It'd be good to see you in person too.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, so that's a big special thing coming up. Me live in Rhode Island all next week. And that's the game for November 6th, 2020. Take care. Have fun, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Be smart. Wear your masks. Wash your hands. Socially distance. We'll be all together in a stadium very soon. And Nick, I will see you next week.
See you next week.